I had very little to do with all that's just been talked about here. I simply took dictation, honestly. I didn't create any of the messages. I didn't produce any of the wisdom. I didn't reveal any of the solutions to life's mysteries. I simply took dictation. And I'm grateful to God and to life that I had the opportunity to do that. And I want to begin my chat with you today by allowing you to know that this is not something that is exclusive to me, this experience. That in fact, and if I hear one question more than any other from people around the world when I make a few appearances, people say to me, how can I have that experience? Or how can I have my own conversation with God? Or can I even have my own? And the answer, of course, as all of you in this room know, the answer is yes, and you are doing it all the time. God is talking to all of us all the time. It's not a question of to whom is God talking, it's a question of who's listening. What we want to make sure we don't do is dismiss the information. I want to say the data, almost I want to say, to dismiss the data that we're receiving from that source of divine wisdom and clarity that resides within all of us, and dismiss it as either coincidence or serendipity or not meaningful or perhaps, you know what's interesting? Many people dismiss the information they receive from the source of wisdom within them because it's too good to be true. And they hear these extraordinarily positive and powerful messages, and they literally reject them and do not act on them because they're too good to be true. And I'm in that category. I said to God in the dialogue, you may remember that passage where I said, gosh, this all seems too good to be true. And God said to me, well, if God can't be too good to be true, who can? So I didn't really have a good answer to that question. It's exactly right. So if the message you're receiving about yourself, about your future, about our collective future, about your talents, about your gifts, about the wonder and the joy of who you are, and all of it, really, if the information you're receiving seems almost too good to be true, then let yourself embrace it. Let yourself accept it. Let yourself hold it as, in fact, the truth about you coming from the place inside of you that knows the truth and is the truth. Now, having said that, the title of today's talk is Our Role in Evolution. And thank you for showing up and deciding to be here for this brief time that we can share together this morning. And let's consider that title, Our Role in Evolution. I presume you wouldn't be here in the room if it didn't hold at least some interest for you. What is our role in evolution? I'd like to begin by saying that our role in evolution has nothing to do with everybody else. So don't feel like, oh, I got this burden or this assignment or this, process I have to engage in that's going to, produce an evolutionary leap for humankind. So just to know that the role in evolution that you are being invited to play by life itself has nothing to do with everybody else. And it has everything to do with everybody else. So it's one of those divine dichotomies that are often spoken of in the Conversations with God material. It's a divine dichotomy where two apparently contradictory truths exist simultaneously in the same space. So your role in evolution has nothing to do with everybody else, and it has everything to do with everybody else. But to clarify that apparent contradiction, it begins and I know you've heard this 1,000 times. I'm sorry to bring you nothing new this morning. But, you know, I probably should have said that at the beginning. I have nothing new to say this morning. You could also all have then just gotten up and left, and it would have been an easier morning for all of us. But it's important to know that I have nothing new to say, and the reason you're here is not to be enlightened or appraised of or opened to something new, but merely to be reminded. I want to suggest to you that you brought yourself here this morning to be reminded of what you already know, of what you already understand. So if it sounds like I'm saying, you know, things you've heard 1,000 times before from 100 other so-called messengers and teachers and read in 100 other books and heard yourself in your own mind from the source of your wisdom, if it sounds like all I'm doing is repeating all of that, know that that's the process. That's what's going on. That was designed to be that way. You brought yourself here not to hear anything new, in my view, but to remind yourself of what you already know. So the process of evolution invites us to answer a question, to make a decision, a major decision that we need to address today, in my view. And the decision is not whether you will participate in the process of evolution, but how. You cannot not participate in the process of evolution. You're participating in that process automatically by the living of your life. So it's not a question of whether you're going to participate, even in the larger process that may in fact affect other people, because you are already participating. So the question is not whether you will participate, but how. And I hope to be able to answer or to offer you an answer that's come to be true for me, and see whether it fits in your reality as well this morning. But before I do that, before we get into the how, let me just take a tiny diversion here and talk about why. And those of you who were with me the other day for the all-day event heard a little bit of this, but to share it with many of you who were not there. The why of it. I mean, like, why bother? Why can't we just get on with our lives? You know, just do what we do and get on with our lives. Why bother engaging in the process of evolution in a conscious way? I'm going to make that delineation in a conscious way because, as I just said a minute ago, we're all involved in the process, whether we know it or not, whether we're doing it consciously or not. We're engaging in the process of our own evolution by the choices and decisions, by the words, thoughts, and actions that emerge from us in our life. That's what's going on. We're evolving. And we can't not do that. But we can not do it consciously. That is, we can find ourselves doing it unconsciously. And so the question becomes, how are we going to engage in that process? And I think the answer to that question, how, somehow emerges more urgently when we look closely at why. Why bother? The question why is answered by taking a look at what we're doing here to begin with. But even before we do that, let's take a look at how we're doing on the planet. I made a few notes here on why we may choose as a collective to engage ourselves, to involve ourselves in the process of our evolution. My dear friends, I don't want to begin this Sunday